These are 3 mistakes that I'm seeing buyers making in the current home market and what you can do to avoid them so that you don't miss out on the house you want to buy. So let's get into it. So the first one is getting a pre-qualification instead of a pre-approval. A pre-approval and a pre-qualification are 2 very different things. A pre-qualification is very surface level. It doesn't get a lot of details. It's usually either one of those applications you can do online or where you speak to somebody on the phone just to get a really rough estimate of what you can get approved for based on some of the information that you provide them verbally. This isn't any documentation or anything like that. Now, a pre-qualification is a really good starting point. It can kind of let you know, a little bit of a ballpark, and then you can kind of go from there. What you want to do is to get a pre-approval. A pre-approval is where you would actually go a lot more in depth with a mortgage broker or with your preferred bank, and they would collect a bunch of documentation from you that would basically hold up what you have disclosed to them for the pre-qualification to verify those numbers and verify that you're actually able to get a mortgage approval for that amount. Now, where the mistake happens is I've seen people in the past get a pre-qualification, get super excited about the amount that they're pre-approved for or pre-qualified for. And, let's say we go home shopping, they find the house, they're like, yes, let's make an offer. We go to make an offer, it's subject to financing, and they can't get financing because let's say the lender pulled their credit score and it's not high enough to support that mortgage. Now, in order to avoid all of this and to avoid disappointment, it is so highly recommended to go and get yourself pre-approved. Not only will this help you truly know what numbers you're working with, it will also help to speed up the process for your financing when it comes to an offer, because when we make an offer, there's really no time to waste. You want to make sure you have all your ducks in a row, everything figured out, because there's a lot of buyers looking, it's very competitive, and you don't want to waste any time. And first and foremost, you don't want that disappointment if you're not able to get financed for that amount. So if you're thinking of looking for a home, make sure to go and get yourself not just pre-qualified, but actually pre-approved, because this will let you know, what kind of interest rates you're looking at, what kind of amount you're looking at, and what you can work with. And it will set you up to be prepared to purchase a home and to actually be able to follow through with it and not be disappointed in the end. The second item that you don't want to make a mistake on is to be shopping over your budget. I've seen this happen as well, where clients will be approved to a certain amount and then go shopping over that budget. Now, let me tell you a story. So this has happened a couple of times, unfortunately, and yeah, it's not a great situation. I've seen it before where an agent will bring me an offer on one of my listings, and her clients are so excited, so eager, and next thing you know, they are apologizing because they're like, well, we know the offer's a bit lower than, maybe what your sellers may want, but this is all that the clients are pre-approved for. Now that's a problem because typically, depending on what the property is, it's priced to sell at market value. Sometimes properties are listed a little bit overpriced for whatever reason. Obviously, can't really get into that typically because it's private information of sellers, but either way, typically whether a home's slightly overlisted or right at market value, the home tends to sell pretty close to that. Maybe sometimes slightly less if anything comes up in a home inspection or if there is a little bit of that wiggle room for negotiation, but typically homes sell for their market value. So if you're coming in significantly less because that's all that you're approved for, you're setting yourself up for disappointment because there's just likely no way the seller is going to come down that low in their price. So when you're shopping for a home, make sure you're shopping within your budget. If you're pre-approved to $500,000, don't look at a home for $700,000 because there's just like a 99.9% chance that the seller is not going to come that low. If you're shopping for a $500,000 house and in that range, and let's say you find some issues with the house and you want to try to renegotiate the price to something lower than that, then by all means try, but you're setting yourself up for failure if you're looking at homes that are way over your budget. So keep that in mind because I see it happen sometimes and it's very unfortunate because you'll get excited about the house and the next thing you know, you can't buy it. So to avoid that, make sure to shop within your budget. The last mistake that I see buyers making is not shopping for a home at all. Now, what I mean by this is, let's say they are only pre-approved to a certain amount, and the home that they want to buy is actually a completely different home in a completely different price range. And in my opinion, I think everybody has to start somewhere. If you are able to get some sort of financing and to get pre-approved for a certain amount, like let's say you're pre-approved for $200,000, and I'm talking about the Williams Lake market here. So let's say you're approved for $200,000. If you can get yourself into an apartment or a townhome or even a mobile home, I think that you should, because the moment that you get in it, you start paying towards your mortgage or your financing, then you're building equity. And equity is what you can use a couple years down the road to sell the property that you first purchased, or to keep it, as an investment property for if you're able to rent it out, and to use the equity that you've built from that property to purchase your next property. And I call this like a little bit of a stepping stone system. So I personally started there as well. You purchase a property that you're able to get into, you use the equity to buy the next step until eventually you get into the home that you want. But if you keep waiting, you're going to keep trying to chase the market and chase that property. So it's easier just to purchase and get into something that you're able to afford to start, and then to move your way up the ladder to the home that you'll eventually be able to afford and buy. And it's a great way to build equity. You're not paying rent towards somebody else's mortgage in that scenario, and you're building equity and building your investment portfolio. So it's a really great opportunity. And I see lots of buyers missing out because they're like, well, this is the type of property I want to be in. I don't want to make a sacrifice for a couple of years to be in something else. And I just think it's a big mistake. If you can get into something, buy it and get into it. So yeah, thank you guys for listening. Those are the 3 main mistakes that I see buyers making in the market. And if you're hoping to avoid those, or if you have questions about any of them, don't hesitate to reach out. And yeah, I'm Sam Jensen from Royal LePage Interior Properties here in Williams Lake. And I am always here if you're interested in buying or selling, or if you're curious to know what your home is worth,